Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. There is yet another card from set 21 that has a lot of people talking about it. This set is shaping up to be really interesting at the very least. With the right ban list, this could be a very, very impactful set. But today we're going to talk about the Red Sin Shenron SCR. There are so many interesting things you can do with this card that we're going to talk about in today's video. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And we have a lot of cards to talk about today, but really quick, guys, this is a snippet from my upcoming comic book, New Mafia Genesis. I'm just leave it here. If you want to read it, feel free to pause the video, check it out. You can go to the crowdfunding campaign, the link in my description. If you think it's cool and just want to check out more about the story, I would greatly appreciate it. But anyways, let's go ahead and give the SCR a read. So we have Shenron, the Eternal Dragon. This is a 10 cost red SCR, ultimate deflect, permanent. This card can't attack, and for every card in your Z energy and drop, reduce energy cost of this card in your hand by 1. So we already know that Gogeta and Sin, assuming they're going to survive into set 21, they can turn this card online super easily. It's actually going to be a little bit harder for other decks to get this online by exactly turn 3 if that's what their goal is. But of course, if you have the SCR, you just play for that, right, as best you can. So if activate main once per turn, if your leader is red, choose one. You can either play up to one of your mono red battle cards from your drop. That's any mono red battle card, no cost restriction. Then we have choose up to one of your mono red battle cards, and that card gets plus 10k power and triple attack for the turn. Very on theme for a Shenron type card. And then we have choose all your opponent's leaders, battle cards, and unisons, ignoring barrier. And those cards get minus 15,000 power for the turn. Very cool effect as well. Now, the really interesting part about this SCR is that first effect, play up to one mono red battle card from your drop. It lets you cheat out so many red boss monsters, especially in decks they were not intended to be played in. And that opens up the door for splashability, right? If you wanted to play Gogeta Triumphant together in a different red deck, you could do that. But are you really going to tech that card for this one of SCR to help set up? Like, yeah, Dragon Ball is a very consistent game, but it's not always the most likely you'll find your SCR by exactly turn 3 to do that play. But I did want to just do a little bit of research, see what cards can actually search this from the deck. There are definitely not many of them, so we actually have a leader that can do it, Yamcha Supersonic Striker, which is actually kind of cool because he also puts other red cards into the drop area, which is more synergy with Shenron, the Eternal Dragon. But then, of course, the only other card that every deck can play that searches any red card is going to be SS4 Gogeta Powers Connection. So if you really wanted to play like a turbo Shenron strategy, you'd probably have to play this Unison just to try and fish for it. And, you know, playing against Gogeta, you guys know how often this thing finds SCRs. It's super infuriating, but still, great Unison rather to find the SCR. Super good stuff. This is the only stuff in the game that I found that searches this SCR. If I'm missing anything, let me know in the comments. But let's take a look at some of the combos with this SCR. You can, of course, play Gogeta Triumphant together on turn 3 in any red deck. Now, the only thing you're missing out here if you play this card via Shenron is the ability to punch your opponent's entire board. That's only granted by the Gogeta leader itself. So without that, you still have a 35k triple strike that your opponent can only super combo out of. They can't use any other battle tricks. That is still a really strong thing that this card is going for it. Now, I don't know. It seems too insane to me for this card to be legal the way it is with this SCR coming out. Does that mean it's getting banned or errated? I have no idea. I definitely urge towards errata. Just because it's the only fusion for the actual Gogeta deck, and I don't think they would want to go ahead and ban the card. Maybe this card has some sort of errata going for it. Maybe that it can only be played by its own skill. That would be a pretty interesting errata. But as of right now, you can play this in any red deck, which is definitely something to look out for. Then we have Jiren, Zenith of Power. This is another really cool one. Technically, you can play this for less in its own deck, but it is pretty cool that it gives any red deck the ability to give a battle card minus 35k ignoring barrier. It is, of course, a huge 35k double strike beat stick. You won't be able to get the activate main effect because you typically won't have a card under it after playing it via Shenron's ability, but it is a cool thing for the removal and the ginormous beat stick on the card. Then we have Golden Frieza, Indomitable Emperor. This is another boss monster that is playable off the Shenron SCR for Red Frieza Army leaders. Of course, the one that most people are going to think about is Red Frieza Prison, which actually has a super tight cult following. So those of you guys that love that deck, this SCR is probably the one you're going to want to go with. Now, this card has definitely fallen off since it was initially released all the way back in set 6. This card was a lot more difficult to deal with when it actually hit the board back then, because you would typically have to rely on a battle card to get rid of this thing, and those battle cards would be taxed by this card's permanent. But now we have different things like the Realm of the Gods extra cards that can deal with this a bit more effectively. But still, a pretty cool one to be able to play super early in the game. Might be something worth exploring if you are, again, playing a deck like Frieza Prison or even maybe Red Frieza Swap. Then we have Goku Ultra Mastery. So with this card, you do miss out on the board wipe capability, which is a little rough, but you do get the ability to look at your opponent's hand. And this might actually be the more splashable red boss that the Shenron decks will play because of the ability to look at the hand. Although it is going to be sparking 20, so only certain decks are going to be able to actually make full use of that. Like the Yamcha leader I pointed out earlier might be able to do that, but I think Gogeta can do it. I think Sin can do it because you know, they're going to be going through a lot of their cards through the way they make Z energy, so they might build up a drop pretty quickly. But yeah, this is a pretty cool one to look at for sure, and it might make Shenron the best SCR for the U7 Goku deck, of which I think U7 Goku is still a solid red deck. It's obviously just overshadowed by Sin and Gogeta, unfortunately. Then we have Triple Flash SS4 Goku. Cool thing about this card is that the auto is when you play this card, not when you EX evolve it. So when you play it off Shenron, you draw 2, and then if you have a way to buff this card further, you can get the ability for it to not be countered. Now, I believe that was errated to only for a red Saiyan leader. So yeah, you want to be looking at like Gogeta or maybe even U7 Goku or maybe the OG spaceship deck would be another one you could play this in. But yeah, it's still cool that when you play off Shenron, you do draw 2 and you get a triple striker out of it. And again, possibly the uncounterable portion of it as well. Pretty cool boss to play with this guy. And then one that I think might be the best one generically for red decks is going to be SS Broly Unlimited Power. So we have a 6-drop 35k, unique critical double strike, great stats. If your leader is red when this card is played, choose one of your red unisons, add 2 markers to it, then choose up 3 cards in your opponent's hand and send them to their warp. At the end of your opponent's next turn, they add all cards sent to their warp by this skill from their warp to their hand. So this gives any red deck the ability to do this, get that pseudo hand control, but in an aggro deck, pseudo hand control might as well be actual hand control if you kill your opponent that turn. And that's probably going to be the goal of playing this card, is like getting a huge body, taking hopefully your opponent's best defenses out of their hand, and then just going in with, you know, this card and whatever else you might already have on the board. Very cool card, and possibly seemingly degenerate card that is going to be played off of the Shenron SCR, but a very good one nonetheless. And then we have Son Goku Savagery Awakened. Now, normally for 5 energy, you can play this, crit 2 of your own life, and then burn your opponent for 1. Shenron allows you to do that as early as turn 3. Although, you know, you might not want to do that on turn 3 unless you actually have the game shot there. You basically want to do this combo whenever you have the ability to actually burn your opponent's final life, right? So whether that's turn 4 or turn 5, it still makes this a cheaper play, which all in all is a good thing for this type of strategy. Now, off of the Reborn effect, we're talking about the other effects now. So the ability to give your opponent's leader, battle card, and unisons minus 15k is going to be kind of insane with the Cooler leader, right? Cooler leader actually tops here and there. It's definitely a super rogue level deck. Like this might be the epitome of rogue, but still, it has great synergy with this SCR, possibly milling your opponent like, you know, anywhere between 5 and 10 cards in one turn if they went super wide. So yeah, it'll also have the synergy of reborning cards when you don't necessarily want to go for the mill, so it makes the SCR even better in the sense that it has so much flexibility and you can go for the mill if you need to, or go for any of the other effects if they serve you better in that scenario. Then we have Omega Shenron Unfeeling Retribution. So this card is not great to reborn with the Shenron because it costs 2 to play it, right? Like if you need to reborn it, you can, but now really what we're looking at are the best cards you can give triple attack and 10k. And with Omega Shenron, being able to give it barrier via Oceana Shenron and then make it a 40k triple attack, triple strike, that's pretty insane. Like that might be Sin's best use case for this SCR in their deck. Again, assuming that Sin remains in the same state it is going into set 21. We'll see if that actually ends up happening. Then we have Rush Attack SSB Vegeta. So this one is a little weird because typically Rush Attack doesn't live going into the next turn because it's only a 2-drop 15k once it goes back to your opponent's turn. A lot of times it's getting cleared, but if it does happen to live, or you do something like turn 4, turn 5 with enough energy to play both, you can give this guy the triple attack. Now, a lot of times it's not safe to attack with the Rush Attack without proccing the Activate Main right away. But best case scenario, let's say you attack with Rush Attack the first time, then you activate Main, restand it, give it double strike and barrier, then give it plus 10k, and triple attack, that is not only an insane amount of damage, but that auto there is not once per turn. So this thing's swinging potentially 4 times, making 4 Z energy and minusing 4 things by 15k. That is absolutely nuts. Then we have King Piccolo, 5 seconds to eradication. So you can reborn this card with with Shenron rather. That does make it a 3 cost instead of a 4 cost. But besides that, you got a couple things here with this card. So if your leader is red, your opponent can't activate blocker in response to this card's attack. And it's already a double strike deflect barrier. Making it a triple attack 30k barrier double strike is going to be huge when your opponent can't block it in certain matchups. And then besides that, we have the auto, add 1 card from your life to your hand. When this card attack is negated, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So if this thing is swinging several times, your opponent is probably going to have to negate it at some point. And if they do, they still take a damage. That could be enough to seal the deal with this combo. Then we have SS Broly Surging Attack, another really cool one because it's a 1 cost, so it's the cheapest of the cards we've looked at so far. On play, this thing's 25k critical. In pan, it's a 30k critical. With Shenron the Eternal Dragon, this is a 35 to 40k triple attack critical. Super strong, of course, and yeah, just a really good one that I wanted to point out here. And then finally, this is definitely the worst of the cards to pair with Shenron the Eternal Dragon. I'm not going ahead and recommending that anyone plays Burst Attack Gohan in 2023, but it might be something cool to look at with the new Red Wish stuff, because technically this is playable off of Familial Bonds. So the thing I thought about with this is that you can give a triple attack, and if you have 4 cards in hand, you can swing with it, combo or draw 2 cards, and then combo 2, so you go back down to 4, and then swing with it again. You know, draw 2, combo 2, swing it again, draw 2, combo 2. That's kind of cool. You see 6 cards out of your deck and you get a pretty beefy triple attack crit and make some Z energy. But again, this is probably not going to be super good, but I thought it was kind of interesting to point out. But anyways, guys, that's what I got for you in today's video. If you guys have other really cool combos for the Shenron SCR, definitely drop them down in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.